Hey YouTube, this is Michael Kazmierski Dunn, if you guys don't know who I am, and welcome to episode 24 of the Blind Piper React series. So if you guys are new to this series, feel free to give it a like, and feel free to subscribe to my channel to hear some really interesting music that you've never heard before. I'm actually taking this suggestion to do the encouragement at the beginning rather than the end, because I know of a piper who has a wicked number of subscribers, and he does that in all of his videos. He usually doesn't wait until the end. He actually grabs people's attention first, like, hey, hit like, hit subscribe. So I thought maybe if I do that from now on, that might get it might change my subscriber count, who knows. So anyway, this piece that I'm reacting to, I've never reacted to pieces by this composer before, but he's a very well-known classical composer, Claud Debussy. He was born in 1862 and died in 1918. His birth year is very similar to, very close to one of the most famous historic Italian bagpipe, zampogne bagpipe makers in the world, Carmine Trimarco, who was 1864 to 1960. So this piece that Debussy composed is a Rhapsody for a saxophone and an orchestra. So I think that's a really interesting combination. And of course, it was sent to me by the coolest girl ever in the world, also known as yeah. And so I've never heard this piece before, so I think what we're gonna do is we'll just get right on with it, and bam, let's go right into it. Pretty quiet, so if you hear any, I like the fresh air, so if you hear any car noises, that's not my fault. Oh, this is very, very Debussy-esque. I've heard of quite a few Debussy pieces before, including a piece that my sister Lizzie played on the piano. Reverie was the name of the piece she played. Haley, you'll remember that. I think that's the saxophone there. That's very similar to Ravel, a little bit. Well, duh, they were French. And had almost similar life dates. Not exactly, but similar. Wow. That's definitely some French, what do you call it? Like, I wonder if that was a trait among French composers. Probably not, though, because I reckon that quite a few other non-French composers were very chromatic. But who knows? Haley, you know billions of times more about this than I do. That saxophone actually has a good vibrato. It reminds me of Ciaramella, which is basically the musical wife of the Italian zampogne bagpipe. It's got a really good vibrato, too. So that's pretty interesting. Okay, this reminds me of an old movie score, like a score used in an old movie, like a really distant movie, like distantly, that was made very, like, I don't know how to like, made in the 40s, 50s, 60s. It sounds like a movie, it just sounds like a movie score to that kind of thing. Wearing headphones and over these laptop speakers, the saxophone sounds a little bit like a French horn. So, but you can't do much vibrato in French horn. Maybe you can, but you can't do as much vibrato in French horn. So I know it for sure it's not a French horn. But it just sounds that way through my laptop speakers and me wearing headphones. So, ooh, whole tone scale. Ooh. That is pretty dreamy. You were right, Haley. I think you said this piece would be pretty dreamy. You are totally right. A lot of people think that chromatic music like this is scary, so like used a lot in like Halloween type things. For me, it doesn't sound scary at all. It's dreamy. Music like that sometimes appeared in my dreams. Scary would be music that uses all 24 notes. If you use a 24 per octave scale, it would be music that uses all those 24. It would be like chromatic, a 24 chromatic music rather than 12 chromatic music. This one's 12 chromatic, and this would be scary music would be 24 chromatic music. So ooh. Yeah, now it sounds like the alto version of a ciaramella in central Italy is called Ciaramolla. 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 And so the saxophone on those low notes sounds like a ciaramolla. There's Ciaramella, which is a soprano, and Ciaramolla, which is an alto. Typically a ciaramella and ciaramolla are an octave apart. What a crazy clarinet, what the heck? Flute. Ooh. Hello, Disney movie score, maybe Broadway, it's hard to describe. Ooh. It must be, I'm guessing he's trying to represent the birds or something, I don't know. Wow. If this were a movie score, it'd be pretty intense. That vibrato's a little bit on the slow side for my liking. If it were an opera singer, that would be a little bit. That would like just start to be in the range of a wobble vibrato. And a wobble vibrato, for those of you who don't know, is very, very bad for the voice. Yet, about 90% of most opera singers are taught to sing with a wobble, which scares the mazzillo out of me. Because why is everybody taught to sing with an awful wobble that they don't know and realize is going to actually kill their singing voice when they get older? This is why a lot of people hate opera, you guys. Anyway, just that vibrato thing, it just always makes me want to go into a rampage about slowing vibrato and how we're going to stop this, because this is very, such an overlooked thing. Slow instrumental vibrato, however, is not that bad. It's not that hard on my ears, but vocally, I hate wobble vibratos, and I really do mean hate. If you want an example of what you may not think is a wobble, but actually is a wobble, try Sarah Brightman in her later years. Like, the most recent recordings of Sarah Brightman, that is definitely a wobble. Well, I guess there is a reason why it does sound like a ciaramolla or a ciaramella, because a ciaramella is played the same way as a saxophone. But it's funny because ciaramella and ciaramolle are double reeds. And I've heard saxes can be single or double blade. But Cecilio Perilli, who's basically the absolute Paganini of the ciaramella, or was the absolute Paganini of the ciaramella, or he was the king of kings of all ciaramella players. He was a professional jazz saxophonist, and so, whoa, holy mazzillo, that's intense. Anyway, Cecilio Perilli was like the a really famous professional jazz saxophonist, and so maybe that explains why he's so good at the Whoa. But maybe that explains why he was so amazing at the Ciaramella. His technique sounds exactly like an opera singer. You can barely distinguish between a good coloratura opera singer and Cecilio Perilli's Ciaramella playing. Cecilio Perilli was 1920 to 1985, and he is survived. His legacy continues with his son Gianni Perilli. And Gianni Perilli was born in 53, so if you can imagine, Gianni is kind of old, so... Ooh, that's pretty intense. You know, I could ask my friend Antonello. He's a really good arranger for zampogne and Ciaramella. Maybe we should well, no, that would be too hard to play on zampogne, but, you know, basically instead of a saxophone, Rhapsody for Ciaramella and orchestra. Haha! Haley, I think you might like that, because I think, Haley, you've shown some interest in the Ciaramella. And if you guys are not familiar with Cecilio Perilli, I'll put some links to Cecilio Perilli in the description, so you can hear just how amazing his playing was. Ooh, pretty intense. A lot of these pieces by French, if this is not the ending, I may be wrong, but a lot of these pieces by French composers have quick and sudden endings. I wonder if that and the chromaticism is like a common French trait. I mean, because Ravel was French, and Debussy is French. So, you know, I wonder what it is. I wonder if it's a specifically French trait, you know, trait among French composers. Yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah. Let me check and see if this is actually over, because if I press escape and it goes back to the main window, which you can't hear, but I'm hearing my screen reader and headphones, that tells me it's over, so I'll escape. Okay, it did go back to the main window. So yeah, it is over. So that was Claude Debussy's Rhapsody for a Saxophone and Orchestra. That is pretty typical as far as, well, I've only reacted to only one other French composer, that being Ravel, so he very much reminds me of Ravel. I don't even have any doubt whatsoever in my mind that Ravel and Debussy were friends. Maybe even best friends. Maybe even you may have even told me about that in the past, Haley, but I'll have to check back on my texts. But yeah. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you've enjoyed it, and join me for episode 25 of the Blind Piper React series. So, have a great day, everybody, and ciao.